There's a difference between not being able to afford something and being wise enough not to want it. And it's a difference the rest of the world has largely forgotten. We tend to assume that owning more is a sign of success, that the fuller home, the newer things, the bigger collection of stuff all signal that a person is doing well. But there's a quieter, older kind of wisdom that sees it exactly the other way around. That much of what we accumulate isn't a sign of wealth at all, but a slow drain on it, on our money, our space, our time, and our peace of mind. Wise Japanese people, shaped by a culture that has thought carefully about money and belongings for a very long time, tend to refuse an entire category of things that most Westerners own without a second thought. Not because they can't afford them, because they've understood something, that these things cost far more than their price tag and give back far less than they promise. Let me say one thing, and then I won't bring it up again. I put the heart of everything on this channel into a small book, Wabi Sabi, Finding Peace in an Imperfect Life. It's linked below if it speaks to you. Now let's continue. Today, I'm going to walk you through 15 things wise Japanese people quietly refuse to own, and exactly why each refusal is a form of wisdom, not deprivation. Some of these you own right now. At least a few will make you rethink a purchase you are about to make, and by the end, you'll understand the single principle underneath all 15. The one that lets a person spend less, own less, and somehow live better for it. Stay with me, because the last few are less about objects and more about a whole way of thinking. And they're the ones that genuinely change how you see money. Let's begin. 1. The cupboard full of single-use gadgets. The avocado slicer, the egg separator, the gadget that does one tiny thing and then sits in a drawer for years. Wise Japanese people refuse these because they understand a good knife and a bit of skill replace all of them. Here's the trap these fall into. In the store, the gadget feels useful. You imagine all the times you'll use it. In reality, it gets used rarely, occupies space permanently, and delivers almost nothing except the brief satisfaction of the purchase itself. You didn't buy a tool. You bought a moment of imagining a more organized life. The wisdom is seeing the gadget for what it truly is before you buy it. Not a solution, but clutter with a price tag. 2. An arsenal of specialized cleaning products. A different bottle for every surface, 10 or 15 of them under the sink. The refusal here is a refusal to be sold a separate product for every task, when a few simple, versatile staples handle nearly everything. It's the wisdom of not being manipulated by marketing into buying the same basic thing in 15 differently labeled bottles. 3. Excess dishware and utensils. 12 mugs for a household that uses 3. Draws of duplicate tools. Wise Japanese people keep what they use, in the amount they need. The wisdom is understanding that even useful things, in excess, become clutter, that the overstuffed drawer isn't wealth, it's just weight. Those 3 are the everyday traps hiding in your kitchen. But the next ones cost far more, because they repeat, month after month, often without you ever noticing the money leaving. 4. Fast, disposable furniture. The cheap piece bought to fill a room quickly, that sags and breaks within a few years, and gets replaced. Wise Japanese people refuse the cheap and frequent cycle because they've done the math the rest of us avoid. Buying badly and replacing often costs far more over time than buying well once. Think about it honestly. The inexpensive bookshelf bought and rebought every few years costs more across a decade than one solid piece bought a single time. And you've spent all that money to own a series of things that were never actually good. The wisdom is seeing past the low price tag to the true long-term cost, and understanding that cheap is often the most expensive choice of all. 5. A home full of storage organizers, the bins, dividers, and containers bought to organize an excess of stuff. The refusal is quietly brilliant. Wise Japanese people understand that a storage product isn't a solution to owning too much. It's a way of keeping too much. So instead of buying containers for the excess, they release the excess. The wisdom is refusing to pay money to store things you don't need. 6. Bottled water and single-use disposables. The daily bottled water, the paper plates, the plastic everything, bought and thrown away in an endless stream. The refusal flows from Matanai, the deep discomfort with waste. Here's the trap. Each purchase is so small it feels like nothing, which is exactly why it's invisible, and exactly why it drains so much over time. A bottle of water is pocket change. A year of daily bottled water is a genuinely significant sum, spent on something that flows nearly free from your own tap. Multiply that across every disposable category, and you've quietly spent a small fortune on things designed to be thrown away minutes after buying them. The wisdom is adding up what the rest of us never do, and choosing the reusable thing you buy once over the disposable thing you buy forever. 7. Trend-driven decorations. The seasonal decor, the constantly updated ornaments, the things bought to keep a home current. Wise Japanese people refuse the endless cycle of decorating because they find beauty in simplicity and empty space, not in accumulation. The wisdom is recognizing that the urge to constantly redecorate is a manufactured one, a slow leak of money in service of a room that was never actually lacking anything. Now we move into the most expensive category of all, not because these things cost the most individually, but because they're driven by something that never stops asking for more: the need to be seen a certain way. 8. Things bought purely to impress. The status objects, the items owned not because they're loved or used, but because of how they look to others. Wise Japanese people, with their ideal of the home as a private sanctuary rather than a showroom, refuse to let their belongings become a performance for an imagined audience. The wisdom is understanding that a life spent buying things to impress others is a life spent serving their judgment instead of your own peace. 9. The unnecessary upgrade, the newer phone when the current one works perfectly. The latest version of a thing you already own a functioning version of. Wise Japanese people, shaped by Matanai, refuse to discard something that still works simply because a newer one exists. Understand what the upgrade cycle actually is: a machine designed to make you spend continuously, forever, on things you already own working versions of. It operates by attacking your contentment, by making you feel every single year that what was perfectly good last year is now somehow inadequate. It is, quite literally, a system for converting your satisfaction into someone else's revenue. The wisdom here is a kind of contentment as rebellion, the refusal to let marketing manufacture dissatisfaction with something that was serving you perfectly well yesterday. 10. Brand name things bought for the name. Paying a large premium not for quality, but purely for a logo, a label, the signal of a brand. Wise Japanese people tend to value genuine quality and craftsmanship, the thing that's actually well made and lasts, over the status of a name. The wisdom is knowing the difference between paying for quality and paying for image, and refusing to pay a fortune for the second. These next 3 aren't about individual objects at all. They're about how you buy, and they may matter more to your financial life than everything above combined. 11. Debt on things that lose value. This is a deep one, and maybe the most financially important on the list. Wise Japanese culture has long carried a wariness of debt and a comfort with living within one's means, a preference for spending money you actually have. They refuse to go into debt to own depreciating things, to finance consumption, to owe money on stuff that's losing value the moment it's bought. Here's why this matters so much. Buying on credit doesn't just let you spend money you don't have. It quietly makes everything you buy that way more expensive through interest, so you end up paying more for things you frequently didn't need in the first place. It's the difference between money working for you and money working against you. The wisdom is refusing to pay extra, forever, for the privilege of owning something now that you could have simply waited for, or skipped entirely. 12. Things bought on impulse, the purchase made in the heat of wanting, with no pause between the desire and the transaction. Wise Japanese people tend toward deliberation, the pause before buying, the honest consideration of whether something is truly needed. They refuse to let a momentary want become an instant purchase. Here's the quiet power in this. Most wants, given just a day or two, simply fade, and when they fade, you discover you never actually needed the thing at all. Impulse buying is precisely the mechanism by which the fleeting want defeats the considered need, over and over, in amounts that add up relentlessly. The wisdom is the pause itself, a single habit that, practiced over a lifetime, quietly saves a genuine fortune. 13. More house and more space than they need. The bigger home bought to hold more stuff and signal more success, and then heated, cleaned, furnished, and paid for at enormous cost, largely to store things. Wise Japanese people, comfortable with smaller, more efficient spaces, refuse to buy more room than their life requires. The wisdom is understanding that a bigger house is often just a bigger container for more things you don't need, at a cost that quietly shapes your entire financial life. 14. The belief that more equals better. Now we move past objects into the thinking underneath them. Wise Japanese people refuse to own the core Western assumption itself, the belief that acquiring more is the path to a better, happier, more successful life. They've seen that the accumulation treadmill never delivers the contentment it promises, because the moment you get the thing, the wanting simply moves to the next thing. The wisdom is stepping off the treadmill entirely, refusing to believe that the next purchase is what's standing between you and enough. 15. The need to keep up with others. The final and perhaps most freeing refusal. Wise Japanese people refuse to hand their spending over to other people's standards, to buy in order to match the neighbors, keep pace with peers, or signal a status measured against everyone else. There's a cultural pull away from flashy individual display and toward a quieter contentment, a comfort with not standing out. And this is the refusal that quietly powers all the others. Because so much of what we buy for an audience, to be seen owning it. The wisdom is the deepest of all, understanding that a life spent trying to keep up with others is a race with no finish line, where the standard keeps moving the moment you reach it, and where the only way to win is to stop running. True financial peace doesn't begin when you finally have enough to keep up. It begins the moment you stop trying to. So, let's step back, because a single thread runs through every one of these refusals, and it's the real lesson. The gadgets, the products, the disposable furniture, the storage bins, the upgrades, the brand names, the debt, the impulse buys, the oversized house, the belief that more is better, the need to keep up. Notice what connects them. Not one is refused out of poverty or deprivation. Every one is refused out of clarity, a clear-eyed understanding that these things cost far more than they appear to, in money, space, time, and peace, and give back far less than they promise. That's the principle. Wise Japanese people don't measure wealth by what they own. They measure it by what they're free from debt, free from the endless treadmill of wanting more, free from spending their money and their lives serving other people's judgment and marketing's manufactured desires. What looks, from the outside, like refusing to own things is really a refusal to be owned by them, by the cost they carry, the space they demand, and the quiet hold they take on a person's finances and mind. This is the wisdom the title points to, and it's almost the opposite of how the modern world defines being smart with money. It's not about earning more so you can buy more. It's about wanting less so that what you have is finally enough, and discovering that a person who has escaped the need to constantly acquire is wealthier, in every way that matters, than a person drowning in things they were told they needed. And here's the genuinely useful part. You can adopt this today, with your very next purchase. The next time you're about to buy something, pause and ask the wise question. Not, can I afford this, but what will this actually cost me, and what will it truly give back? Not just this once, but as a habit. Most of the time, if you're honest, you'll find the answer is clearer than you expected. And each time you refuse something you don't truly need, you've done exactly what wise Japanese people do quietly every day. Kept a little more of your money, your space, and your peace for the life that actually matters. Now I want to hear from you. Of these 15, which one are you most guilty of owning? And which one are you ready to refuse from now on? Tell me the number in the comments. And if this gave you a wiser way to think about money and the things you own, share it with one person who could use a little more financial peace. They almost certainly recognize themselves somewhere on this list. I'll see you in the next one.